And NASA announced that they will launch 3 rockets during the eclipse. The rockets will help scientists study how Earth's upper atmosphere is affected during the phenomenon. The rockets were also launched during last year's annular solar eclipse. They were recovered in New Mexico. The total solar eclipse is happening on April 8th, and the next one isn't until 2044. So scientists are taking advantage of the rare opportunity to collect important data.
This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. I covered in previous videos all of the events that are lining up with the April 8th eclipse. And the events that I'm talking about have to do with NASA, CERN, devil comets, and of course, Aleister Crowley and the supreme ritual of the invocation of Horus that took place during the writing of the Book of the Law on April 8th through the 10th in the pyramids. Okay, so these are a lot of significant dates and a lot of significant things happening to the occult. Now, why do I say significant things that are happening with NASA and CERN? Because what they've been trying to do, as I've been showing you for years, is they are attempting, and that's all NASA's a front for, they're using the term science to really act out massive satanic rituals, okay? Massive summoning of spirits, opening of portals, opening of black holes, bringing over and lifting of the veil, and bringing over what's on the other side. So, you heard that story. I wanted to do a separate video from the other ones, specifically on what NASA is doing, okay? NASA is launching 3 rockets into the eclipse, and they're calling it the APEP mission. Okay, for those of you that don't know what APEP means, APEP is named after the serpent deity from ancient Egyptian mythology. APEP also goes by the name of Apophis. And of course, Apophis is the serpent god of, you guessed it, chaos, right? Chaos. Apophis was the ancient Egyptian deity who embodied darkness and disorder and was the opponent of light. And it is represented by a serpent, right? And no surprise that NASA, who's supposed to be, right? Aren't we supposed to look at NASA? NASA's the good guy, but NASA's firing missiles into what we're told is a beautiful thing, the eclipse, and calling it Apophis, which means chaos. And of course, the serpent is represented already by NASA, because the NASA logo, as I've covered for years, that red, you look at it, you're like, oh, NASA, and there's just this red thing going through it. It's the serpent's tongue. And everybody out there should know this already. So APEP, let me play for you a little clip, because all of us are not well versed in ancient Egyptian deities, but you know who are? You know who are? All the people in power are. All the governments are well aware of it because this is who they worship. All the secret societies are aware, and there's a lot of people in your town who study this stuff while pretending to be Christian, and they're called Freemasons and Eastern Star witches. Okay, they know all about this stuff, and they study Egyptian gods because those are the ones that they worship. So let's do a little walkthrough here of APEP, also known as APEP, who is Apophis.
Apophis, also known as APEP, is a giant serpent in Egyptian mythology. This massive serpent is an agent of chaos and enemy of Ra, the solar deity. The serpent embodies evil and chaos. Apophis lived in the Duat, the Egyptian underworld, a place where he hid to try to ambush the solar god as he made his way through the underworld at night. The giant serpent was capable of causing earthquakes while moving in the depths. When Ra was about to complete his journey through the underworld, he was always attacked by Apophis. APEP's biggest wish was to destroy Ra's solar boat and throw the world into darkness. In some occasions, Apophis managed to swallow Ra's boat, but could not keep it in his belly. This period when the sun was swallowed by APEP was the origin of solar eclipses. Ra started to be aided by other deities in his daily struggle against the colossal serpent. The god Seth stood beside the solar deity in his boat. He positioned himself at the bow, ready for the serpent's unavoidable attack. When the creature emerged to strike them, Seth maimed Apophis with a spear. Whenever Apophis had been wounded, the sky became red. Bastet, the cat-headed goddess, also helped Ra. Felines are known to hunt and scare serpents away. Considering his malign nature, Apophis was rejected by the ancient Egyptians, and no temple was edified in his honor. Nevertheless, there are reports on the existence of some sects that worshipped the creature. These were seen as immoral and corrupt people. The Egyptians organized rituals and prayed for Ra's victory over Apophis, and the birth of a new day meant that the sun god had come out victorious once more. There was a priesthood book that contained the rituals and practices needed to combat Apep. A ritual, intended to banish chaos, was held annually. A depiction of Apophis was burned during it, while the faithful prayed for another triumphant year of Ra. Some reports state that Ra defeated Apophis and imprisoned the serpent, protecting the cosmic order. But others claim that the struggle between Ra and Apophis will last forever.
So that was just a little history lesson, I guess, in who Apophis is. But this is where people's brains should start thinking, right? They tell us that they're doing these things, right? We're supposed to believe that NASA does what? NASA is space exploration, right? NASA's supposed to be going to the moon, but they haven't been back in 70 years or so. Or if you're aware of what's really going on, they've never been there because they can't get there, right? But recently they gave us a fake trip back to the moon because they realized that people were starting to get suspicious of NASA because they were just using the littlest bit of common sense and saying to themselves, well, why has NASA not gone back in 70 years? And why are they talking about going to Mars if they haven't even been back to the moon more than once? So NASA sent a little fake, telephone booth to the moon again to pretend like they landed back on the moon so that they can get people off their back. So this is what NASA's doing now. Right? While CERN at the same time is firing up the Hadron Collider, no one should be suspicious that they have the deity Kali, Shiva outside of CERN, the destroyer, with all those arms, and you see all the celebrities constantly representing this thing during their music videos, Shiva, the destroyer of universes, right? So you have that over at CERN, and then you have NASA rolling out APEP, which is really the Egyptian spirit of evil, darkness, and destruction, right? So why is nobody out there suspicious of these two scientific organizations or scientific fronts, really, CERN and NASA, who just seem obsessed with the spirits of evil, darkness, and destruction? What are they trying to do there? Do you think they're really just trying to go to the moon again? No. Do you think they're really trying to go to Mars? No. What they're busy doing is implanting themselves in Uranus with propaganda. Because what they're really trying to do has everything to do with the spiritual realm and nothing to do with the physical realm. It has nothing to do with human beings walking on other planets. But what it does have to do is with summoning of these Egyptian deities that they worship so much so. So when NASA comes out and they tell us that they have an operation going on for the eclipse, right? And it's called Apophis, APEP, right? The serpent deity is the name of the operation APEP, the serpent deity. And they're firing missiles in. Why is it that we live amongst people that still refuse to accept or believe that these are corrupt agencies that are not doing any type of scientific exploration? In fact, they're trying to cause more harm than good. And that's why they name these things after deities that are called and named after chaos, order out of chaos, right? We could say that with APEP here. Chaos, and whose motto is order out of chaos? Freemasons. And what are we seeing inside of all the Freemason Bibles that are in their temples or lodges, right? I've covered this many times. Most of you know. You go through the Freemason lodges and you see all their books, Morals and Dogma, etc. What do you see? Well, you see Egyptian worship, the indoctrination for all of the initiates into Egyptian gods, into Babylonian God, into all of this stuff that God actually forbids, but they play the role of Christian, right? They pretend that they're Christian. They're like, well, we worship and believe in a God. That's the only thing. If you want to be a Mason, you got to believe in a creator. But they don't tell you who the creator is, because what they do is they indoctrinate you with who that creator is that you're supposed to worship. Okay? This is a battle between good and evil. This is not a science experiment that's occurring during the eclipse. This is a mass ritual that they are attempting during the eclipse by firing rockets into the eclipse, by turning on the Hadron Collider, while telling you there's a devil coming, while telling you or at least they're not, but I am, about Aleister Crowley's ritual, his supreme ritual to summon the invocation of Horus. Do you see all these Egyptian gods and these deities that are cloaked and surrounding this event and surrounding places like CERN and NASA? Because if you don't, and you think this is all make-believe, think again. Think again. They have dumbed us down to the point that we believe that these people are actually smarter than we are. I don't, but the majority of people out there do. I know a lot of you listen to my channel don't believe that, and you shouldn't believe it. And if you're new to my channel, please don't believe that. Because when they put the word science and they put words like NASA and astrophysicists in front of all this stuff, they're putting those words with it so that you don't have the right to question it. And if you do, they could just come and say, well, you don't know science. You're not a, what is the old expression, right? Oh, I'm not a rocket scientist, right? Is that even a real thing, being a rocket scientist? Is this what a rocket scientist is? Because it sounds like it, right? They're firing rockets into the eclipse. So this is what rocket scientists do, right? So who am I to question and do a video like this, since these are rocket scientists firing rockets into an eclipse? I don't have a right to even say anything, especially about demons and entities and black holes, because I don't understand science. But in fact, I do, because science is a word that they use to hide from the masses witchcraft and satanic rituals that they're trying to summon and manifest right in front of our faces. And how do we know this? We know this by God giving us ears to hear and eyes to see. We know this by being as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves, or as I like to say, wiser than serpents and as innocent as doves. Because we have to be wiser than they are. We have to be steps ahead. And we already are wiser than they are, those of us who are saved through the blood of Christ, because we've accepted salvation and seen truth, and we know the only truth in this world. But the rest of the masses out there, they literally believe and don't understand that we've been programmed with sayings just like that, right? They don't got to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. Now, why do they say stuff like that? They say stuff like that because they want you to think that you can't wrap your head around what these people are doing. And they're so much smarter than we are, astrophysicists, etc., that we don't know what they're really doing. And when they talk about smashing protons and opening up black holes, it has to do with the evolution of humanity, not demonic entities, because those aren't real. But go see Ghostbusters and The Exorcist this week and every other movie that comes out every other week about hauntings and demon possession and entities in your home and Ouija boards, etc. But don't believe that NASA or CERN has anything to do with that type of stuff. Of course, if you were born yesterday, then these are the types of things you would believe. But people who follow my work and my channel were not born yesterday. Be aware of these things. A spiritual war has been taking place. This is biblical, okay? And these events that are occurring, while many are looking to the skies and the heavens like the Bible tells us, don't forget to be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. Because look no further than these organizations that you've been told are scientific, smart organizations that are here for humanity, to protect us, to investigate things. They're not doing that. They're looking to do exactly as that demon, APEP, has done. Cause chaos, spirits of evil, darkness, and destruction. That's what we're dealing with here. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you found this video informative. God bless all of you as always and your families.